It's 2D1 video. Buddy, shorting the video. Short them out. Oh, not this one.
Have you noticed how things only continue to get worse? I know you have. Everybody can feel it at this point. Every single year, all of a sudden, you're paying more and getting less back. Hardware is constantly falling out of reach. Monetization is spun out of control. Your ownership is constantly in question. The price of games continues to go up, yet the games themselves continue to lose quality. The games industry is bigger, more profitable, and more culturally dominant than it has ever been in its entire existence, and it's not even close. There's not a single industry that can even touch it at this point. Yet, for whatever reason, the games themselves feel more desperate, more compromised, and more hostile towards the audience. And that is not by accident. For years, the games industry built up your trust and loyalty by selling you video games, toys, art, entertainment. We bought these games because we wanted them. We owned these games because we paid for them, and we supported it because it gave us something back. But somewhere, at some point,
Mind you, people still choose to actually pay games, even though knowing the fact that pirating is still exists because they want to support it. That's how fucking interesting it is. I would have stayed with pirating if the services from Steam is so shit. Like I trust Steam a lot, man. I really do.
that changed. The whole equation flipped. They stopped treating these games like video games and started treating them like financial instruments.
Yeah, they're products now. They're technically products. I would definitely say the people who are actually doing this is like the people who are trying to actually think they understand their in game they understand gaming. Like the corporations, the publishers, the higher ups thinking they actually know and understand what people want. It's like it's crazy to me because like movies and music doesn't actually go this far of spectrum where people are fighting for what they're trying to get. Well, since they're paying it. But like for games, man, we've been like literally getting dismantled by a bunch of people, man. Literally.
Like leverage. And almost in perfect unison, the entire industry started building services and
Excuse me.
systems designed to control you, to
Hmm.
remove your choice, and to continue to make money from you long after the sale. It didn't start like this. This was
I
never the
agree.
plan. It evolved into this. And to be able to understand why and how, we have to look back before looking forward. So
Hmm.
today, I want to talk about the villain in all of this. I want to talk about how Wall Street ruined video games.
Wall
Sorry for the
Street.
sad state of things. I'm getting ready to move right now, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Starforge Systems who sponsored today's video. This wouldn't have been possible without them, and I greatly appreciate it. If you guys are interested in a new PC or a pre-built PC, they have the best PCs in the universe. Go ahead and check out the link in the description and in the pinned comment. I love these guys. PlayStation, filling the world with emotion through the power of creativity and technology. Xbox, bringing the joy and community of gaming to everyone. Nintendo, to put smiles on the faces of everyone we touch. Look around the games industry, or really any industry, and you will find statements like this everywhere. Every major company has some version of a purpose statement. It is supposed to answer a very simple question: why do we exist beyond making money? On paper, this core principle is supposed to be these companies' North Star. It's the thing that guides every single decision that they make and keeps them focused on the service they provide,
I
not
love the
only
fact that he used this footage, the footage from this game that I played before. I played this game demo before back, like like a year ago, and it was actually from itch.io. It was an alpha test game. I tried it, kind of liked the concept, but I suck at it so bad, so I just give up.
to their customers, but also to society as a whole. And that's the most important word here: service. These companies built their brands, fortunes, and dominance by serving their audiences, by making things that people wanted, by competing with one another for your time, attention, and money. But over the last decade and a half, and especially over the past couple of years, The biggest companies in gaming have moved
Mhm.
further and further away from that idea. They stopped serving their audience. They stopped
Yeah, very much so. Everyone has been doing that. Like, simple as to say, Nintendo is also the same as well. I don't remember since when, like, they actually ever make a good game. Actually, Nintendo. Sure, Tears of the Kingdom, like Legend of Zelda games, like the Kong games. Like, those games are so rare. Like, where are the new games that they were so proud of with the Super Mario, Luigi, something that kind of stuff? I don't know what took them so long to actually make their own version of the games. And then like PlayStation trying to actually say that they want to try to justify their own pricing for different region when it depends on what where your account PSN is, forcing everyone to actually have PSN, and then trying to actually not make try not to make the game available anymore for PC market because they want to actually have a monopoly. It's just the IP, the same IP recycle. Yeah, exactly. And, like from Nintendo, it's the same IP. They're just using one after another. Like technically speaking, the Kong games are actually pretty good. Like I would say, like it's good to see Donkey Kong coming back, and then like if he has his own game, that's cool. But I feel like once in every fucking millennia, and then like, in those spacing is just them reusing and just keep on using Super Mario Kart World and then justifying $19 price tag on it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then like PlayStation literally have a bunch of directors who are so ego with their own work, which some of their games are actually good, but the problem with this game is that they couldn't unlock their full potential because PlayStation is a manufacturer hardware. And because of that, some studios are gonna get fucking closed down by PlayStation, like Bluepoint, because some games are not gonna actually work out or like be done very well under PlayStation. Sure, PlayStation is actually a good place, but like PlayStation also try to actually have monopoly against the consumers now. It's especially when like the production of physical disc are not there anymore. And then Xbox, oh Xbox, my dear friend, I do not know why Phil Spencer has this thought of trying to buy as much as possible with every game company, which I totally get that you can do that, but I never understood why would you spend 4 billion fucking dollars on Blizzard. I never understand that. Like at this point, Xbox look like a saint, bro. Even though they actually are in a very deep shot when it comes to finances. It's crazy. Also, hi, Axel. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream.
seriously competing with one another. And because of that, more and more, these guys have now started moving together towards the same goal, gaining leverage over the industry, over the medium, and over the people who are playing these games. Annual franchises, DLCs, microtransactions, live service, digital games, mobile games.
Oh man, you have to really show off Battlefield 6. I love Battlefield 6 though, but unfortunately with Battlefield 6, the beta pass and some of the AI image swap is actually does exist, but they're not as bad as Call of Duty to be honest with you. Hey, Exils, how you doing, man?
Subscription platforms, rising prices, rising budgets, consolidation, commoditization, surveillance, the removal of value, the removal of ownership, enshittification. We have watched a rapid and violent evolution of a still relatively young industry, something that started as toys, as a hobby, as entertainment, and then slowly became a self serving, profit seeking machine that is trying to crush both its creators and its customers under its boot. And it all started in the 2000s. At the start, the games industry was basically just a seasonal toy business. Even as gaming exploded through the late 80s and 90s, it was built around one simple idea: make something cool, fun, and exciting enough that people actually wanted.
Bro, I remember when I was a kid, I was really hyped to try out Control 1 and 2. I remember watching the pixel art of Sonic. I was really excited to just see him zoom around. I remember those were the time where like Game Boy was about to actually be really cool, and I was really wanted to actually have one, but I never really got it. I really do want to actually experience one day, but I never really got a chance to do it until I just saw all my friends have like PS Vita, Game Boy, PSP, to be able to play like some of the Mega Man or like some of the Legend of Zelda, Nintendo from Nintendo, of course, and then like there's also like Mega Man, Sonic, Mario. Some of them, I mean, I know also play like FIFA as well, but I remember back in the days where like we used to treat games as like a form of escapism, and our parents would tend to actually blame on games for actually being the reason why we're actually so bad at our studies. To be honest with you, I would say yeah, maybe games actually did become a part of like the reason why I become lazy. But the reason why I love games is because it's just such a form of interactivity for me to actually put myself into a different world than insert myself into a reality. I think there is a beauty in that. I love games. I do. I adore them. Like it's crazy, man. Like I remember the time where there was an Xbox 360 era. I played Black Ops 2 split screen with my friend back in his home, and we were having the best moment of our life, man. I was not great. I was pretty egotistical in those kind of game, but I was having the fun time of my life, man. I enjoy that shit, bro. Fuck, man. Making me missing the good old days where gaming used to be actually really, really down to the essence of gaming, where back then creativity of the games are actually legendary. Like, bro, we don't even have those kind of games anymore in this kind of days where creativity is even a part of making the business. The business for making a game is to just make a game that can actually sells well and pray to God it works. That's it. They just use the IP that is popular and somehow they're trying their best to actually justify that. Hey, you like this? Come get it. $80 price tag. Fuck that. Fuck, man. Fuck.
Under their Christmas tree. You just made the game, you sold the game, and if people loved it, they'd come back for the next one. And for a long time, these companies understood that that trust was everything. After the crash in 1983,
Ellery, welcome to the stream.
gaming was this risky, unstable, and maybe even a fad of a business. But Nintendo rebuilt that trust by obsessing about quality and the relationship with their customers. The NES
Back then, Nintendo was the GOAT. I remember Nintendo was like the one of the few biggest names of all time, and it was at that moment the reason why there's a reason why I love Donkey Kong. I love Donkey Kong. I love Pac Man. I and also I love Mario. I like Mario. I like the idea of using Mario to save Princess Peach, even though she's such a bitch most of the time to actually be safe or like but I like it. It's so bloody fucking fun, bro. I really do. Like I was not a Nintendo hater back in the days. I was enjoying that Nintendo was making good games. It's just sad that we've devolved backward.
was not just a console, it was the proof that the games industry needed that they could be trusted again. And if you guys really want some whiplash, Nintendo for the NES had a 20-year repair lifeline. They honored that up until 2007. I used that when I was a kid in 2001. After my NES died that I had inherited from my brother, I called the number on the back of the console, gave them the serial number, and within a week, Nintendo had mailed me out a brand new NES with controllers. That sounds
Really?
insane today, but back then, that was the relationship. That's how far these companies would go for people because these companies wanted you to feel taken care of. Nintendo had plastered a seal of
And
quality on
it's so sad that we're living in a time of days where every company is like literally racing towards each other of taking time bomb to see who is the one company that can gain control over their players. It's so sad, dude. And don't even get me started with the corporation and also the government that try to involve themselves into this gaming industry. Like remember, Stop Killer Games actually literally try to fight the rights of gaming to the point there was one stupid idiot in the court, by the way, literally was asked that what about the people already paid for this private server to play with other people in Minecraft. In Minecraft, by the way. Minecraft allows you to actually pay for private servers to actually play in private life, in a private server, offline or online, by Minecraft. This is official, by the way, official. And then, do you know what she said? She said it's illegal. It's illegal to pay for private server and play them offline. Are you joking me? Are you fucking joking me? And you know what's crazy? The people behind her who supports her are actually Microsoft as one of them. Microsoft was one of them who supports this girl. How the well, how? How the fuck does that work? So like now, like they're biting their own tail.
The front of every single one of their games because they knew that your trust was the whole business. That trust is what put Nintendo in every single living room across the world, and it's also what built the foundation for Sega, Sony, and eventually Microsoft to come in and compete on. Every console after that was just a massive leap. The industry just kept growing, built off of that same trust. Every generation felt like these impossible leaps compared to the last, and for the most part, the only thing that we ever had to worry about back then was what game you actually wanted to play next. And from here, over the next 20 years, things would just continue to snowball. That trust would continue to build, and that trust would turn into support, and that support would turn into a community. And eventually, that community turned into sales numbers that the entertainment industry didn't think were possible. By November 9th, 2004, Halo 2 had made $125 million in its first 24 hours, becoming the biggest opening day in entertainment history.
I remember how big Halo 2 was. I was not there to actually be able to play the game, unfortunately. I wish I was. But as a non-gamer, I've heard Halo, Halo, Halo so much in the gaming industry. I love Master Chief. I remember there was this one cutscene from Master Chief that got me so in love, where he was just aura farming in the middle of the desert, and then he saw there was a motor that coming towards his direction. What he did, he just look at it, and then he take the ball, s- literally throw it to the ground, and it would produce a shield for him around his body before the motor lands on him, so he was safe. Motherfucker did not even get move at all. He just willing to use that, and I was like looking at that, and that was the coolest shit ever, bro. I remember that. And then you proceed to get a boner. I did. Well, I didn't go through the puberty, but like if I was like if I was going through a puberty, I would probably have a boner. I loved that moment, bro. It was the moment where like Halo was like the shit. Gears of War was the shit. Call of Duty was the shit. Those were the reason why I love games. Excuse me. It's just there was vision, there was creativity that was being brought into, but now it's just shit. It's just shit piling to another shit. Fuck.
Years later, Halo 3 would shatter that record by $170 million in a single day. There was
Dude, there's a cosplay of Halo Cheetah back there.
not a single piece of entertainment that was even close. Video games, in that moment, were no longer some niche hobby for kids. They were not seasonal toys anymore. These were mainstream. This was something that was competing with Hollywood, and everybody started looking at it differently. Because to players, I mean, games like Halo and Final Fantasy, Zelda, Mario, Metal Gear, and Call of Duty, these were just games that we loved. But now, to investors, this was stability, predictability, profitability, a captured audience. Games were no longer seasonal toys. They were becoming a reputable source of annualized revenue, and off the back of sequels, franchises, and seemingly endless growth.
And then the rich investor ruins it. Exactly. You wanna know a fun fact? There was a story in From Software, uh, a shareholder problem. So just to let you know, From Software is being owned by Katakawa. Katakawa is like a very massive company who actually, produce sales from mangas, toys, and also like games as well. So 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 Kanagawa owns From Software, but Kanagawa doesn't actually interfere inside of From Software that much. They let From Software do whatever they need to do, which is cool. But one of the shareholders, which is I don't remember, one of the shareholders that has very very bad reputation for having massive monetization into mobile games, requested that the money that's being put into From Software was not fully potentialized. I want you to understand this. They complained the hit director of From Software for saying they did not actually take in as many of advantages to make more money from Elden Ring. And the investors were not very happy with because of that. And because of that, there was an internal warfare inside of Katakawa to have the director being stepped down. And I am shocked the fact From Software is actually in this warfare. I am scared. Okay, thank God, the director is still alive, but the support from the director was actually from 96% to 67%. Yeah, sure, 67, whatever. But it is down that fucking low because some of the investors are not very fucking happy with this whole entire outlet. And honestly, I'm just gonna say this. Fuck you, investors. I don't give a shit about your money that's being put out here. You choose to have your money put into without even understanding the medium. Just because you put money into something and expected something to come back to you without even realizing what you're actually inside of is crazy for me to actually see that you are actually complaining about it. Especially in the gaming industry. Some of these people are need to actually shut the fuck up and never touch about gaming industry. But yeah, he's right. He's right. The fact that people of investors, like the richer people, already see that the gaming industry is such an easy way for them to make money. It is the annual printing money machine for them. It's there. And they want to take it. They want to gain control from it. It's not that they are mad they're not making money. They're mad that they can't make more money from it. Exactly. They want to make more money. Not just money enough. They want more. They're greedy fucks.
More money started moving into gaming. IPOs, private investment, public investment, mutual funds, institutional capital, all of it started treating games like one of the strongest growth markets in all of entertainment. But that money came with expectations. These companies were no longer just expected to make great games. No, they were expected to grow their revenue every single year. And the easiest way to be able to fulfill that promise was to create franchises, sequels, bigger marketing, more safe bets, repeatable formulas, and annualized releases. That's where the incentives in the industry.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the downfall of all the great IPs that we used to love for games. That's the reason why. Because these newer franchise sequels, yada yada game, they come out. It's not because they came out because of like they want to actually have people to show off their creativity of storytelling or gameplay or making it fun for you. They're actually making those games for expectation that's being set up by the investors. So it's like you go to exam, you're going to examination, you study examination because you're going to actually try your best to get all the A's, not because you need to learn it. It's because you're fucking scared of your dad is going to actually whoop the shit out of you when you don't have good grades. That's the sad part. The dad is the investor.
Started to rot. This is the first case that we see. Sequels and franchises are not inherently bad, by
Oh,
the way.
this is the scene. This is the scene that I was talking about Halo, by the way.
They help build the industry.
This is the scene. I was talking about it, how I get a boner from this.
We would have had them with or without Wall Street in this case, but the difference is why they were actually being made. Before the shift, sequels existed because people loved those games and wanted to see more of them. After the shift, the sequels are increasingly existing because of the fact that the investors wanted predictable revenue. New ideas immediately became harder to justify, and even new IP was designed from the ground up to become its own franchise eventually because a game itself just wasn't enough anymore. It had to become a pipeline to more content and more revenue. This is also when we started to see the shape of the industry start to change. Publishers and teams and budgets and all this stuff just got bigger. Roles became more specialized. Technology improved. Output increased. Mergers with giant corporations and publishers making these huge companies that were just taking over the.
Just so you know, why I don't like about this fucking franchises is because Gears of War has a rumor going around making $400 million. The new Gears of War, by the way, the Gears of War E-Day, their budget for making a game is $400 million. And if that rumor is true, I don't understand why you have to go that far to actually make a game that is already for an IP that's being so old that is actually on a fucking light, like literally on a lifeline right now. Bro, it's crazy that Xbox had to actually go to Bethesda, talk to Todd Howard, and they wanted to actually make it happen for Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 Remastered, and then telling Todd Howard to make Elder Scrolls 6 and also Fallout 5 because Asha Sharma wants to actually secure the future of Xbox. It is crazy that we don't have any new game, and that is the sad part. It sucks.
Medium like Activision merging with Vivendi Games in 2008. From the outside, it looked incredible. And honestly, for the players, it actually was. I mean, guys, this was the golden age of video games. No matter what platform you played on, there was a buffet of incredible games.
I
Every
agree.
single year felt stacked. Every generation just got bigger than the last. The money that was pouring into the games industry made these games more ambitious, more polished, more cinematic, and more technically impressive than anything we'd ever seen before. So at that time, none of us could have probably ever seen the trade off here. Because while the biggest publishers were getting stronger, well, we didn't realize that everybody else was getting squeezed. Indie and mid tier studios were really not able to compete at all. They didn't have the money to be able to print and merchandise games at scale, not like these other companies. They didn't have the
Exactly.
marketing budgets that blotted out the sun. They didn't have the same kind of retail relationships, investor backing, or even the same safety nets. A lot of the space got put into contract work. If you go and you look back at a lot of the independent studios that we have today that have been in the games industry for years, most of these guys were all forced into contract work or acquired by another studio or basically just put into survival mode. And consumers, well, we just had all of our trust consolidated around the biggest publishers and franchises in the industry, but we never even noticed it. The games were just too good. The growth was too exciting. The industry just felt like it was constantly moving forward. The decay from investor driven sequelization wouldn't even fully reveal itself until many years later. And even then, guys, this is just the first wave of investment. The next one was going to change the industry forever. While games were exploding in the mid to late 2000s, the business around them was quietly evolving. DLC, expansion content, and eventually microtransactions would start giving these publishers new ways to make money long after the sale. Horse Armor and Oblivion became pretty infamous for a reason because of this, but at that time, it still felt small. Most of us didn't even really think anything of it. It was
Hmm.
annoying for sure, definitely stupid as well, but it wasn't industry defining, at least not in any way. Then Xbox and PlayStation started selling digital games through their own platforms. And that completely rewrote the logic of the business. It was no longer just buy the console, buy the game. No, the console itself is now the storefront, a service, a permanent revenue channel that is sitting in your living room. Every single account, every download, add on, subscription, every piece of content became a much larger part of a bigger system. And
Bro, I remember back in the days where like in order to play Counter Strike 1.6, you need to have a CD to buy and actually install it in your piece in your computer. I remember that shit. I remember the time where like oh, you gotta buy the game on computer. Oh, I don't want to do that. I remember I was like one of those people who did not like paying something on computer, and now I actually love it. But at the same time, I think the reason why is because it's so convenient in a way of like saying that like it's saving you or your room, it's saving your space, it's saving your money and the energy. It's great. It's fucking great. But that it's literally what he said. We never think about the trade-off. We never think about it at all because at that time it was small. It was not big or defining or at all for at a moment to buy something, it's not really big of a deal, you know.
And most of us didn't even question it. I mean, why would we? It was just so
Yeah,
convenient. It was exciting. The games were
exactly.
still great at the time. Keep that in mind. That's probably the most important part here. These companies had spent years building up trust, and because of that trust, we just didn't see the trade off. We didn't see the same systems making games easier to buy were also the systems that were giving these platform holders more control over what we could access, what we could own, and how long they could keep charging us long after the sale.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
smartphones
shit.
took off. The iPhone launched in 2007. Apple introduced in app purchases in 2009. And by the early 2010s, mobile games had already become the clearest example of what games could look like when the sale stops being the point. Angry Birds, Farmville, gotcha games, timers, energy systems, premium currencies, tiny little purchases that were stacked on top of each other until the business model had changed. And it wasn't about convincing somebody to buy a single game once, it was about finding the players who would keep paying forever. And the worst part is that it worked. After that,
It did. And it was, and even after this, I think it was the reason why at that point people did not like live service games because the live service were going a step too far.
or along with that, we had World of Warcraft and Xbox Live, League of Legends, Team Fortress 2, loot boxes, free to play, live service, and all of this was proving some version of the exact same thing.
I love this video so much because he technically has been telling my experience of like how I see view games when I was a kid, and then like just to be find out with more and more interesting ideas of what a game could possibly be actually accessed to, just to realize that those things that were supposed to be a gifts for of technology, just to see as a way of like the people wanting to actually gain control for what you're paying for. And it's crazy that I've been blind when I was a kid. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel like he's like I don't feel it's a bad thing for actually happening when I was a kid, but it was I was young at that point, yeah, you know? And like at that point, sure, maybe the games were actually the reason why it made me lazy to go to school, you know, and all. But like most of the games are actually really good, bro.
Games were more than just products, they could be ongoing services with almost unlimited revenue potential. And this set the investment world on fire. You saw it immediately with Zynga's IPO in 2011, King Digital in 2014, Activision then buys King in 2015, Tencent buys Supercell in 2016, Microsoft buying Mojang in 2014. The message here was obvious. Video games were no longer just a creative business, they were an investment space. And Wall Street's influence was felt immediately. One of the reasons why I think we see such an outsized impact of Wall Street's influence in the games industry, keep in mind all the things that I just listed about microtransactions and add-ons and digital downloads and all this stuff. A lot of this stuff has been influenced by investors. They were the ones that believed
Yeah.
that this is going to be the best path forward to making more money. These guys wanted to improve their profits for their shareholders. Definitely not for us. I can tell you that right now. But in its formative years, this industry was never about any of that. This industry was a bunch of nerds that were making games inside of a creative industry that nobody thought was actually going to be profitable. It was entirely luck based. It was a roll of the dice. Gamers making games for gamers. They were creative works that were being made for kids. It was anything but predictable. But the games industry found its initial foothold by relentlessly serving its customers. Relentlessly. It was insane. I worked at GameStop back in the day. I remember exactly what it was like. We didn't have a care in the world. Everything was fine. We never had anything to worry about. We always knew that these companies were looking out for us, or at least we felt like they were. The
Hmm.
games continued to get better. We had a sense of community. We had midnight launches. It was capitalism at its peak. These companies were doing everything they possibly could to make you happy, doing everything they could to gain your trust. They just wanted to
Hmm.
get better at what they did, and they just wanted to go at each other's throats the entire time and compete as hard as they possibly could.
That is true.
And because they did that, we ended up giving them loyalty in return. But that loyalty proved that franchises were profitable and stable. And
I
investors saw
did.
that, like
I
smelling blood and
I say this before that I knew from the very beginning we were the reason why this whole entire outbreak of like monopoly and problem of like the AI stuff. People were not very happy with like the PC component and everything like those kind of shit. Like the $80 price tag. I've said this one thing. We are part of the problem. We are definitely are part of the problem for this whole entire thing because we allowed it to happen. Like it's like I mentioned that one time where like how why Call of Duty is the way it is because they do not care for making a good ass game anymore because like they can still get away with a very shitty game with a bunch of money because there are a bunch of people who are willing to pay for it. Sure, we are like now people already started to realize, but it's already 1.2 later already because yeah, people are still willing to pay for it. Hell, I'm sorry for saying this, but like World of Warcraft is technically the living proof of that as well because like you're paying monthly for a game. Like I still do think that sorry, I still do think it's like not even worth to do so, man. I'm just saying that we are always been part of the problem, and the solution I don't know. Since we're the one who's making the problem as well to exist. Maybe one way or another we'll find a way to actually remove it or reduce it, you know?
the water, and the sharks just started to circle. And once they came in, they started making these companies churn out sequels and
Nurse graduated high school, escaped the bullies, and made something fun. Then the bullies saw it as profit and pulled them back into the high school drama. Can you imagine how fucking bad the PTSD when they see their fucking investors were just the bullies when they were back in high school, bro? That's crazy, dude.
franchises like crazy. They still do to this
That is
very day.
so
It's still very much a
disgusting.
backbone of how these guys believe that they can make money. Notice that every single time they fail with live service, they immediately retreat back to the same tired ass franchises that they've been pumping out for years. And it's largely destroyed a lot of those franchises because those games just haven't been made for us. They were games that were turned into nothing more than just vehicles for more revenue. These are outside influences that have nothing to do with the player experience. Everything that excites you does not excite investors. Everything that excites an investor does not excite us. I can tell you that right now. And as the games industry has continued to get bigger, this impact has gotten even more influenced. And because of that, this cancer has just continued to spread. And the funny thing is, this is only half the story. We haven't even got to the good part yet. Wall Street didn't destroy video games in a single night. It did it systematically, incrementally, and then more recently, explosively. And there's a reason for that.
What do you mean by that?
The transformation from 2010 to 2019 brought a major wave of investment into gaming. You guys can see this across nearly every publicly traded company in the industry. And it did more than just change how games made money. It re-engineered the relationship between the people that were making games and the people that were playing them, or better yet, who they were making those games for, because the industry started to move away from selling standalone products and more towards what is better known as servitization, turning the games
You know, that's also the reason why PlayStation has been so fucking eager to actually revive Concord and like really focus on having live service, you know? It's so funny because PlayStation tried to paint himself as a good guy, but in reality, they were the real bad guy that would try to actually get monopoly, man.
industry into an ongoing service itself. For players, that meant that these companies became increasingly more focused on leverage, value extraction, and satisfying Wall Street. The first place that we saw this was with development cycles getting longer and the rise of minimum viable products. As investment continued to pour in, AAA companies had to expand. These guys have to show that they're actually investing that money properly. It's part of their fiduciary responsibility. They went in and they hired more people. They created specialized roles. They built increasingly more complicated production pipelines. Something as simple as creating a character that only took a couple of people now could involve a concept artist, modelers, texture technicians. You got rigging technicians and engineers and motion capture teams, maybe even a
Which,
few
by the way, they don't need this at all, by the way.
other people as well. This improved the individual asset exponentially, but it also increased the time and money it took to actually make them. And as those budgets grew and as that time went on, these publishers needed to recover that money earlier while still continuing to show their investors growth. DLC, downloads, patches, and live service games gave them the infrastructure and an option that they just didn't have in the past. See, before, when you wanted to ship a game, well, you had to test that game because if it was a broken product, well, people would return it, and it would also mean immediate losses. Now,
Yep.
they could ship on time and fix it later. QA could be cut. Day one patches became normalized. Content could be held back or sold separately in some cases. Players became
Cyberpunk is definitely one of those really prime example for this. I I remember back in the day when Cyberpunk first released, it was fucking buggy as hell. I remember people were memeing the fuck out of this game being so janky and terrible, and it was a mess. It was pure mess. And you know what's the weird part of this? After months and months, even without having patches, by the way, the game still have most reviews because it's crazy that people still actually are okay with this game, and honestly, including myself. Even despite being in the game is still janky and buggy as hell and broken, I remember I was kind of okay with the game. I was happy with the game and how it is because it has good content. There's a story with it. But the difference is between this game and other games is that this game should have been perfect. It should have been perfect on release. And but it just doesn't do that because they were trying to get money for the investors. And that's the sad part. Because the investors are wanting to have their money as soon as possible. Therefore, putting a huge amount of pressure onto these games to not be finished and being actually like cooked up at times on a proper time. And then they actually live that people who buy the game to with the things that are just going to be dissatisfactory on
Paid
day one.
testers
It's
while
sad.
publishers still collected revenue and stayed on schedule. I'm
Hmm.
interrupting the video because I'm actually packing and editing at the exact same time, but that's not the only place that these guys cut to increase their margins. The other place was the actual game boxes themselves. See, this is Diablo 3 from many years ago, and I got it on PC, and I have the game disc and
Diablo
DVD.
3
They
is
gave me a
crazy.
notepad. They gave me an art book that shows the
That's
different
so cool.
characters and things about the world and its lore. They gave me gifts guest codes to be able to give to other people so I can have my friends play the game. And this is one of the first places these guys look to be able to cut costs, to be able to increase their margins and keep their shareholders happy. This is something they did specifically because they were just trying to make more money. It had nothing to do with us, nothing to do with our experience, nothing to do with the value that they give to us. No, they were looking to cut away the value they gave to us to be able to give it to somebody else. Another way a lot of these companies look to increase their profits while still taking in a lot of this investor money was actually through services. In 2013, Xbox announced the Xbox One, an all inclusive media hub looking to capture revenue from television and streaming services. Later that year, PlayStation put online multiplayer behind PlayStation Plus, something that they charged $12 for that they historically didn't charge anybody for. Microtransactions became increasingly more normalized, and almost every single online multiplayer game had its own storefront. The game was no longer just something you bought, it was something that you were expected to keep spending on. At this point, the customer just stopped being the priority. We became something to maneuver and leverage for more money to be able to please their shareholders. The industry started dragging out franchises, chopping those games up into pieces and selling them back to us. They had patches to be able to ship their games unfinished. And then they buried everything under subscriptions, storefronts, and services. And every single time we lost something, these companies seemed to be rewarded with more investment. Look at the charts. The numbers just kept going up. I had this realization
I can't even hear probably because I'm so distracted with how he plays Dead Cells.
recently that all we ever get right now is just bad news. There are still some highlights, mostly inside of indie and double A and independent studios, but AAA has become increasingly more corrosive every single year. And it took a long time for a lot of us to be able to notice this because it was gradually happening over the course of 20 years. The reason it feels so much worse today is because the next 20 years of investment and Wall Street's influence ended up happening in 5. And would you guessed it, Fortnite is a major reason why Fortnite took off in
Yeah.
2018, popularizing free to play, battle passes, and modern live service. Investors saw the future of reoccurring revenue that seemingly had no ceiling, and publishers began promising their own version of it. Then, COVID came in and threw napalm on the fire,
What?
exponentially increasing Wall Street's influence, which is why we see it as aggressive as it is today. With everybody locked inside, gaming exploded. The media and the government were calling this the new normal. New consoles had launched. Games had moved to $70, which showed even more confidence in the platforms. Wall Street projected impossible growth, with some firms saying that microtransactions were going to triple their revenue, and in some cases, the industry itself is going to quadruple in revenue in just 2 years. All the publishers went all in. Investment doubled, tripled in some cases. Hundreds
Just to let you know, all of this happened because we allowed it to happen, by the way. All of this monetization, we allowed it to happen. Fortnite, we allowed it to happen without even thinking the trade off. Again, we are experiencing this because we let it happen because of us not even thinking the trade-off of when we decide to actually put money and time into a specific game. It is crazy to think that are the reason why we're actually here.
Hundreds of studios reportedly working on live service games. And by 2024, nearly every single one in the industry claimed that they were pursuing live service, at least in some form. But the new normal was never normal. Lockdowns ended, all of the projections were wrong, people returned to their lives, growth slowed, but for whatever reason, investors still expected a return. The
Hmm.
industry had overextended itself, and now it had to actually pay for everything that they had built. The live service bets that they had made had failed. Many of these games had no clear audiences because
Is
they were
that
actually built
Concord? Oh
around
my god, it
investor
is.
expectations instead of actual players. They released and died or were canceled before they even made it out the door. After a decade of bending to these shareholders, expanding their teams, and inflating their budgets, many AAA companies had just lost their ability to
Hmm.
understand what they were even making games for, who they were making games for. Even their single player games struggled because, well, they just couldn't meet the financial expectations that had been attached to them because of all of their investment. Xbox declined. Ubisoft nearly collapsed. Actually, it pretty much has collapsed at this point.
Yeah.
Publishers missed their targets, canceled projects, closed studios, and laid off thousands of people. And as the industry started spinning out of control, it turned to taking away your leverage as the next answer. As growth became harder to find and these companies were losing money, they needed to find more ways to be able to please their shareholders and show that they
Hmm.
were still making money. And, well, what they did is they essentially just looked for ways to stop serving their players and instead started looking for new ways to make players more dependent on them. Hardware costs are
Oh yeah. This is where we are going to the present day. The AI, the monopoly from different corporations, uh, the the lock system hardware. Oh god.
rising. While I'm sure these companies aren't necessarily thrilled about that, they are finding ways to use it. If you can't afford a console, then they can rent it to you, lease it to you, maybe bundle it into a payment plan. If you can't afford that, then, well, maybe you can afford the
Oh wait, bear back, bear back, bear back. Anyway,
cloud.
let's continue the video.
If you can't afford the games, then, well, we have subscription
No
services.
physical copy. Exactly. Yeah. I don't get it. Why there's no physical copy? But the reason why. No, I get it. Why? The reason why there's no physical copy from PlayStation is because they wanted to actually gain monopoly from having digital store because they know that people who sells disc are going to sell much more cheaper price than like the normal price they put up in the PlayStation store. And also some of they have the system in PSN, by the way. PSN is the account that you make for PlayStation where if you actually log in more, you get more discounts compared to people who have less login to the PlayStation store. Apparently, this is actually proven, by the way. Very much more proven. I did not expect that, by the way. Which is a real thing. And some of the games are going to actually sell differently in different regions, which is honestly, it's pretty kind of normal. But like, it's very, very big, very, very big difference. And it's also easy for them to actually make more money because they don't have to worry about the secondhand market at all. Just
Creating a
saying.
world where you own neither the hardware nor the games and you can be charged for it indefinitely. The same thing is
And
happening right now
if
with
you
physical games, getting rid of
And if
discs.
you think PlayStation is not doing it for the monopoly, look at PlayStation Twitter because Twitter, after they announced they're not gonna make any more disc, the people have been non-stop commenting every post at Twitter from PlayStation right after that. At literally non-stop, they've been begging, calling out shit for PlayStation, and PlayStation did nothing to address this at all. They were not being transparent. At that point, you're proving that everybody is right, that you're doing it for the monopoly.
Gives PlayStation and Xbox more control over access and price. A physical game can be discounted by retailers, bought used, resold, traded, or just lent to somebody else. A digital game can sit at full price for years because, well, nobody's actually competing with that inventory and no secondary market is going to be forcing that price down. Even if PlayStation continues to put their game codes inside of retail boxes, everybody knows where that leads. Once there's no disc to actually preserve, lend, or sell, most people are going to stop going to the stores entirely, and they're just going to buy them directly off of the console. There is no benefit to the customer here. It is a cheaper option for the platform holder. They're removing their competition, and they're making your access dependent on their storefront, servers, and their continued permission. What makes matters worse is that none of these companies are even using this to differentiate themselves anymore. Years ago, if you wanted to play online without paying any money, you had PlayStation or Nintendo. Now, all three platforms charge to play online. When Nintendo moved prices to $80, Xbox was the first one to follow. During the Xbox One era, Microsoft tried to push digital licensing and restrictions on trading games. PlayStation responded with one of the most legendary campaigns ever that completely crushed the Xbox One, showing how easy it was to hand somebody a physical game. Sony defended ownership because it gave them a competitive advantage. One generation later, and they're all moving in the exact same direction that Microsoft was. This is what I mean by these companies are just not actually competing with one another anymore. They still compete over exclusives and platform loyalty, but when something gives them more control or profitability, they all arrive at the exact same answer. Paid online,
I
higher
should really play Dead Cells because this looks fun.
prices, subscriptions, digital distribution, closed ecosystems, less ownership. They don't need to sit in a room and all agree on it. Their incentive
How much is Dead Cells? Like I'm seeing the way he plays is so like I don't know why, but I'm actually really mesmerized. I want a full complete set. 86 ringgit. Oh wait, no, never mind. 150 ringgit. Gotcha. Wait, no, this is with Windblow. Never mind. 86 ringgit. Okay, gotcha. I'll keep this one in mind. Anyway, let's move on. Let's continue. Wait. Wrong video.
I hope everyone in this
Sorry. Where is the video? What? What happened?
to be providing something useful to the people that's where the AAA industry is right now. Wall Street looked at the trust, loyalty, and communities that these companies had. Microsoft was. This is what I mean by these companies are just to point them in the software is reaching deep inside. Call of Duty records voice chats for moderation on it. Their incentives already point them in the exact same direction, and all that control does not end with just the storefront. Call of Duty records voice chats for moderation. Kernel-level anti-cheat and anti-piracy software is reaching deep inside your computer for your personal information. Age verification is being pushed across all kinds of different games and platforms right now with very little pushback. Payment processors can pressure storefronts to remove legal content without any laws ever being passed.
God, so many people are... Dude, holy shit. So many people are trying to get in control of this industry, bro.
This industry wants more control. That's why the ESA and Video Games Europe are out here lobbying against Stop Killing Games and your right to ownership. Hell, they're even labeling private servers in Minecraft as
this is what I'm saying.
Illegal behavior. They want that.
Mind you, Microsoft allowed that to happen. And but some reason someone says it's illegal.
So they can monetize your access. EA is out here announcing EA advertising, allowing brands to place advertisements and sponsored content directly inside of its games. Now, your attention can be monetized and sold while you're playing it. This is why I brought up the purpose statements at the beginning of the video. Every business exists to make money, but that's not supposed to be their only reason for existing. It's also supposed to be providing something useful to the people that are supporting it and also the society that is allowing it to operate. Competition and regulation is supposed to keep these companies in check, especially when they actually start getting really successful. It's to keep them from becoming oppressive, because without those limits, these companies stop asking how they can serve their customers, and they start asking, well, how much value can we extract from them? How can we make them dependent on us? And that's where the AAA industry is right now. Wall Street looked at the trust, loyalty, and communities that these companies had spent decades building and reduced it all to reoccurring revenue, engagement, and growth. And chasing those numbers, publishers traded away their audiences that made them valuable. They believed that gaming was infinitely scalable, but it has a ceiling. There are only so many players, only so much time in the day, and only so much money that people are willing to spend. These companies keep trying to push past that ceiling, and in doing so, they are destroying the games themselves and also the relationship that's been holding this entire industry together. The Western AAA industry has specialized too heavily. It has spread itself too thin. It is spending too much money, and it has built a future around margins that just can't keep growing forever. Players will outlast this. We will keep buying games, but we will support smaller studios, independent developers, older games,
That's
physical
why I make a video about like indie games are technically the way now,
collections,
but
and
I don't think it's actually as good as this one.
and anything that still respects our time and money. This is why the average cost of games is going down, why indies are taking market share, and why less people are just buying games overall. These companies think that they're going to take away our choices and that's going to secure their future. In reality, all they did was just trade their future for the next quarter. These companies used to inspire joy and creativity and put smiles on people's faces. That's how they actually built their entire industry. That's what made these guys successful. But Wall Street came in, they got involved, and they saw that as something that was worth leveraging. And I think these
Hmm.
guys were fully convinced that our loyalty meant that we would likely just accept anything that they wanted to do. And while I think these companies have gotten away with a lot of this stuff for a
That is
while,
true.
eventually you're just not going to get away with it anymore because people
In his words, we are taken advantage of by the investors because they know that we're still willing to pay for money for like the new sequel for the upcoming game from this specific franchise. It's very easy.
just aren't going to have the time or the money to be able to do anything. And honestly, keep in mind, more control doesn't mean that you're going to make people care. And that's probably the most important part. When I look across all
True.
of AAA, while I talk about how oppressive and how crazy it is what they're doing, at the same time, I mean, how many AAA games do people buy? How much do people really care about most of these franchises?
Hmm.
I saw the other day that Xbox is, essentially going to be laying off all these people, reducing their workforce to try to increase their profitability through their main key franchises. And I'm sitting here like, who cares about Halo anymore? Who cares about Gears of War? Who thinks that Fable is actually going to be a good game? Who thinks that Bethesda is capable of doing anything? Who cares about
I still do think that when Elder Scrolls 6 gonna come out, it's gonna be the same shit what it did with Starfield. I don't feel any different at all.
Call of Duty? Nobody. They've ruined a lot of that stuff, not only by just repetitively pushing that stuff out, but also just through everything that these guys have done throughout the years. You're just not relevant anymore because you got too aggressive and you got too greedy. I think the path this industry has taken is just completely unsustainable. It doesn't make any sense to me. I've said this before, and I think this is probably the most important thing to say. I think that public investment, especially at this scale, just doesn't make sense in a creative industry. And I think that it completely
It
rots
wasn't. I think from the very beginning I knew it wasn't going to be in the direction of creativity at all.
the process
Like I said earlier, we're taken advantage of so easily by these investors because it's so easy to actually like grab the bait from these people when they actually make it relevant to us. Like it's like I've seen this multiple times. I've seen like it's like one of the best example would be like World of Warcraft or maybe a Call of Duty. Hell, like Ubisoft games are kind of like that as well. They're very easy to just find ways to do something and then plus to the name they can actually take just title themselves as like the simple bait for everyone to buy, which
to
is
the
crazy.
core. Because we're talking about somebody that has a cool idea and they want to make something cool, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in the side door and says, "But do you think X and Y demographic will like it? Can you make game have X and Y demographic like it as well? Oh, by the way, is there any live service elements that you have thought of? We need to have some live service elements injected into that as well. It's too many voices, too many added opinions that are
Hmm.
distracting from the creative process of making a video game, making something cool, making something interesting, making something that people actually want. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of these live service games that were pushed through all of this heavy investment have failed because none of them, not a damn one, was ever made with us in mind. They were all made for the singular purpose of taking care of their shareholders, to bring more of them in, to bring in more money and more investment. That's the only thing that they cared about. And
True.
I view the games industry as essentially just walking down the exact same path as Hollywood right now. That same
Oh,
level of
that is true.
commercialization where you're seeing where it's just the same properties over and over again, increasing prices. The audience is actually the problem, declining relevance, something that I think is ultimately just going to end in collapse.
Hmm.
Simple as that. It's crazy to see how quickly this industry has devolved over the years. And, you know, I've been thinking about it
And
recently.
it also ruins like one of my favorite, or like some of my favorite franchises. Man, I really hated that. It's so sad. It's so sad that some of these people actually like really tells you that creativity meant nothing, but money is literally a way for them to just gain control over the over the people who have passionate of like making games. It's so sad to be overthrown just like that, bro.
Because I'm just like, man, we are just getting hammered with a lot of bad news recently. And the reason why is because this industry saw a rapid amount of investment and a rapid amount of influence that came into it that normally would have been spread out over many years, that happened in a very specific amount of time. And these guys had to find a way to be able to make money, and this is how they're doing it. Taking away your control, taking away your ability to make a choice. This whole physical thing, the biggest argument against it that I have, because I know there's a lot of people that have been complaining about it for the PlayStation thing.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I have to say is that by going fully digital, it gives these companies so much more control, not only over your access, but also over the pricing. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going to have a massive negative impact on pricing pretty much across the entire industry outside of indie and double A games,
Yep.
which is where most of my money is probably going to go, and where I would hope most of your money is probably going as well. These are companies that are not worth supporting anymore. Most of them. Some of them are still okay, but for the most part, most of these guys.
Yes, like some of them are actually still willing to actually do some creative decisions. That's just, like I really do feel like some of them are still wanting to make games, but I do think like at the end of the day, there are like investors are taking the control, and also the publishers trying to tell you what to do. Like it's as simple as that.
I wouldn't give them a red cent. Absolutely not. So I don't know. I'm interested to know what you guys think. I'm sorry this one was a little bit more of a serious video, but it was a conversation and a look back and a look forward that I wanted to take, and I think it was important to have that kind of conversation.
It's a good
It's been a
video.
while since I've made one of these kind of more like evergreen discussion videos in a long time, so I hope that you guys enjoy it.
It's a
By the
good
way,
ass video, bro.
this is the last time that you're going to see me in this house. The last time you'll see me in this apartment. The next time that you see me, I'll be in a new location in a dark, dark dungeon. I think it's probably where I'm probably going to be set up at. But a lot of memories here, man. The whole channel started here. Kind of crazy and a little bit bittersweet for this to be the last video, but I feel like this is an important one, so I'm kind of glad that this is the last one.
Wait,
Anyway,
what?
dark dungeon, I think. This is the last time that you're going to see me in this house. The last
Oh,
time you'll see me in this apartment. The next time that you see me, I'll be in a new location in a dark, dark dungeon. I think it's probably where I'm probably going to be set up at. But a lot of memories here, man. The whole channel started here. Kind of crazy and a little bit bittersweet for this to be the last video, but I feel like this is an important one, so I'm kind of glad that this is the last one. Anyway, I'll see you guys after I move. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for everything that you've done. This move that I'm making, being closer to my family, it wouldn't be possible without you guys and everything that you've done. And I cannot tell you guys how much I appreciate that. Yeah. Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
amazing guy.
Family, family.
Absolutely amazing guy. Did he move? I want to see his new location. Oh, he did.
Team in this game has had their
Oh, I like this. Oh, he's in the basement. Oh shit. Yeah, I think this whole entire situation when it comes to the PlayStation, it's very much more crazy, and also some of the situation with like the how games are gonna get controlled by everyone is technically happen. I definitely do think that the video that he made earlier is actually amazing. Actually, the legendary drop. I think like I don't think I've promote him that much, but I'm just a small streamer, but I really do love what he actually make. Actually, it's one of the few videos that one of the few YouTubers that I generally do think that I can actually listen to people to his opinion to like have a specific order to say a couple of things. He's definitely the voice for me when it comes to like some of the problems in the gaming industry and like theoretically maybe technically saying the morally speaking. He's a good guy. And the video that he recently said about like how the industry is crushing now, it definitely has been never been like never been this low at one point. But the gaming industry is very much more very low in a bottomless pit right now. It is definitely very very bad. I am having a headache. I don't know what to say much about it, but I am excited to watch his Pal World video next time because I do want to watch it sooner or later because it's Pal World is definitely a very fun game, and I know for sure that some people are not happy with that game being very very successful. So yeah, um, for what he's talking about the gaming industry, we are very much fucked right now. But I think there are still hope with the indie and also like how people are actually moving away from buying or owning the games now. They're not buying them anymore. I'm happy, but at the same time, there are still people still willing to buy those games and still willing to sell, still willing to like have people make money for investors. That's still happening. That is for sure. But it is actually getting much more slower. But I do not know if it's going to be a better or not actually. But yeah, I would say the gaming industry has been like taken advantage of by these bigger people who don't even understand what gaming is because they can make more money. Like you said, it's not because they want to make money back; they want to make more money than they have actually put into. But yeah, other than that, investors kind of sucks. They ruin everything. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you all have a day or have a lovely night. I'll see you guys when I start streaming again, which is probably tomorrow. Hopefully we'll do something about it, about it in Pal World. Good night, y'all. Bye bye.